So then I think our next slide is about to help us capture the attendance piece, right?
Yep.
So thank you, everybody. I mean, we've all had to learn a lot of technology. So as a reminder, you may have registered for this event on Smart Health to help earn your points to help lower your healthcare costs for next year. It's really exciting that our events are featured on there. So hopefully you're going to attend. We have 2 more events coming up. You can register for those on Smart Health as well. We would really love your help in capturing attendance. The easiest way to do that is to point your phone at the screen right now at that QR code, which will take you to a survey where we can capture which event you're attending. And again, we can share on our results. So we can put on more events like this in the future. And is there another?
The reminder for the general meeting. I'm sorry, I don't know why it's not advancing. There we go.
Okay. Okay. So as a reminder, our next general membership meeting will be Tuesday, October 11th at from 3 to 5 p.m. We meet every month. Well, we take a break in November because Hispanic Heritage Month is a lot of work. But at that meeting, we're going to feature a speaker from the Commission of Hispanic Affairs. We're going to do some celebrating for all the great work from the kickoff event at Villa Sylvania that happened in September. And then we also have a speaker from the mining agency, the Office of Administrative Hearings, to talk about bilingual Spanish hearings for unemployment insurance, which is a new pilot program they've been doing. As a reminder, though, we have 2 more events coming up right next Thursday and the next following Thursdays during the noon hour. We will have Bailadores Frontes, and then I'm blanking on the other one. Can I get your help with that, Monica? Or anybody in the group?
I'm gonna mispronounce it, so I'll ask someone else to pronounce it for me.
Pronounce which one?
Oh, it's what isn't a name? A community by many other names, which will be next Thursday. So okay, so yeah, so please, I'll encourage you, contact us at lln@ofm.wa.gov if you are interested in participating in any of the committees on the board, if you have an idea or for a speaker you'd like to feature, if you have a Latino on the move that you want us to feature in the newsletter, or if you'd like to get signed up for our newsletter, contact us at that email and we'll get you signed up. Our newsletter is a great way to find out about all of our events as well as job postings. Yeah, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jovita, who can get us started with this great event today.
Thank you, Tony and Monica. I am going to try and share my screen here now. And let's see. Hopefully everyone can see this. So Tony already did the welcome, and I'm Jovita Ramirez. I'm the LLN's DEI committee co-chair, and Steve Kammerer, and I probably always pronounce his last name wrong, is also here with us, and he's my co-chair. I will quickly review the agenda because we're a little bit over on time. And I'm going to do the agenda, some housekeeping, and read Maestro Arreguin's biography, and then do an introduction. So I will, as Tony said, the meeting is being recorded. Please ensure your microphone is on mute. If you have any questions through the conversation, you can submit your questions using the chat feature. And just a quick reminder that to be respectful at all times. And I'm going to, before I go into his biography, I want to share a short video, and I hope it works. Sometimes earlier didn't want to work for me, so let me see if it'll work. let me know if you can hear it.
Alfredo Arreguin is just one of the most remarkable painters. He has found a way to connect with his heritage as well as his life here.
He's been a very long time resident of the Northwest, and in the course of that time has developed a superlative national and international reputation.
I feel the child very much in his paintings because, you know, when we were children, we really felt the miracle of the world. And I think that sense of miracle is very much alive in his paintings.
When I was a small child, my maternal grandfather thought that I had a lot of talent by doing a lot of small drawings and paintings. And when I was about 8 or 9 years old, he convinced the fine arts school in my hometown of Morelia to allow me to take classes with the grown-ups. What that did actually was encourage me to become an artist because I loved the school. I thought I would want to be an artist, but I wasn't very much encouraged by my father, who had a developing company in Mexico City, and why don't you become some architect or engineer or something else? So when I immigrated to the United States, my first thought was to go to the University of Washington and sign in the architecture department. And I got drafted and I was sent to Korea. And on my return, another student from Peru said, why don't you go into interior design? That has more art. So I moved to the art department where they were teaching interior design, and when I went to a convention at the Olympic Hotel of Interior Designers, I realized that I was, one of the things that I would have to learn is how to sell, and I didn't like that. And so I said, well, why don't I take painting? Because that's what I always wanted. You know,
I think we'll stop there. So as you can imagine, Maestro Alfredo Arreguin has a wonderful biography. So I'm going to read part of it, and hopefully I can get it done in a few minutes. But just to give you an idea of who Maestro Alfredo Arreguin is. So Maestro Alfredo Arreguin was born in 1935 in Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico. At age 9, he became the youngest pupil at the Morelia School of Fine Arts. At age 13, he moved to Mexico City, living there for 11 years until he came to the United States in 1959. Maestro Arreguin is a resident of, or has been a resident of Seattle. He earned his BA and MFA degrees from the University of Washington. He has received numerous awards, including Humanitarian Award by the Washington State Legislature, Governor's Arts Award from the state of Washington, National Endowment for the Arts of Visual Arts Fellowship Grant, In 1979, he was selected to represent the United States at the 11th International Festival of Paintings in France, where he won the Palm of the People Award. In 1980, he received a fellowship from the National Endowment for the Arts. And in 1998, in a competition that involved over 200 portfolios, he won the commission to design the poster for the centennial celebration of the state of Washington. The image that was chosen for the poster was his painting called Washingtonia. That same year, he was invited to design the White House Easter egg. A climatic moment in his career came in 1994 when the Smithsonian Institution acquired his, and I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this word right, triptych Sueño, Dream, Eve Before Adam, for inclusion in the permanent collection of the National Museum of American Art. A year later, in 1995, Maestro Arreguin received the Otley Award, which is, Otley is a Nahuatl indigenous word meaning road or path forward. I think this is just awesome. It's the highest recognition given by the Mexican government to distinguished individuals who perform extended activities that contribute to benefit the Mexican community abroad. And in 2000, he received a Distinguished Alumnus Award from the University of Washington Multicultural Alumni Partnership, which also established the Alfredo Arreguin Scholarship in 2006. In 2007, his fame was cemented when he was invited by the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery to show his work at the Portraiture Now Framing Memory exhibition in Washington, D.C. One of his paintings included in the show, The Return to Aztlan, was kept in the permanent collection of the gallery. Let me see that. In 2015, a sample of his work was shown in 3 solo exhibitions in Spain. First at the Palacio del Conde Luna in the city of León, then at the Museo de América in Madrid, and lastly in the Museo Provincial de Cádiz. In 2017, the municipal government of Morelia, capital of the state of Michoacán, which is his birthplace, awarded him the keys to the city and declared him a distinguished guest. The only other person to receive the keys to the city before Maestro Arreguin was Pope Francis. In 2018, the Bainbridge Island Museum of Art hosted a retrospective exhibition of his work, Alfredo Arreguin, Life Patterns, and more recently in 2019, his painting, The Return to Aztlan, which forms part of the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery permanent collection, was featured in the collective show Emiliano Zapata Después de Zapata, and at the Museum del Palacio de Bellas Artes in Mexico City. If you're not familiar with Palacio de Bellas Artes in Mexico City, it's a beautiful building, and they do a lot of art galleries, and also they have a symphony, and it's just amazing. If you want to know more about his current and local art shows or gallery shows, you can check his website, and you can see more of his art on the website, or if you choose to go maybe to one of his shows. Maestro Arreguin has a long and distinguished list of accomplishments that spans close to 4 decades. I could continue on and on with many more awards and accolades, but I think I will stop there and we can get started with the conversation with Maestro Alfredo Arreguin. I have several questions prepared, and then afterwards we will have a Q&A. So feel free to submit your questions on the chat. We will keep an eye on that. So with that, I would like to say, bienvenido, Maestro, and welcome to this Lunch and Learn for Washington State employees.
Okay.
And I, for some reason, can't see anyone other than my slideshow here, so I'm going to try and see what I'm doing here. I'm sorry, go ahead, I cut you off. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. I feel honored to be asked to talk about my work. And you have already gone through all my achievement and awards and things like that, which I don't like to talk very much about it. But anyway, thank you. I am familiar with the ecology department because, as you know, you have a big, large piece that I did with another class artist in the entrance of the ecology department, as well as a big jungle painting, who was inspired by the painting that the National Museum of American Art has in their collection. I am interested very much in ecology because when my father sent me to, as a punishment for having low grades, to the wilderness of Guerrero State, and I spent all these times going through the jungles and seeing all these eyes and things watching me. Sometimes I'll see monkeys and cats and all kinds of wonderful things. And when I was a child, I used to watch Tarzan movies. And the only thing that I wish was that they were in color, because they were black and white, but still had all this inspiration. And then when I saw the real thing, stayed with me through the years. So I have done very many paintings of the rainforest. And when I was later on visit these places, the lake that I used to love was totally dry and gone. And I became aware since then how important it is to try to save the planet. And my work sort of inspires people to realize that we live in a beautiful, wonderful world, which keeps me very sane, because I walk every day and before I start painting in my studio. And I just love to see all the wildlife. And we have just half a block from us, a big light post with some osprey. They already left for Venezuela and Argentina, but then we wait anxiously when they return in the spring.
Yeah.
So I am expecting you to ask me some questions that are more relevant.
Thank you. Yes, I work at ecology, and I don't know if any of you have been to the ecology building in Lacey, but if you ever get a chance to, we have a huge, almost like a mural that Maestro Alfredo Arreguin did in the lobby area. So if you ever get a chance to definitely stop by and look at it. It's really beautiful. I do have some questions to kind of start the conversation. And the first question I have for you, Maestro, is what has been your inspiration for your painting style or your pattern style, as I've heard several people call it? What was your inspiration and what do you call it?
Well, some people, and when I was invited to participate in a competition in Cagnes-sur-Mer, France, I realized how important it was to show them some of my inspiration, which I got when I was a little kid. My grandmother used to take me by the hand to the markets in Morelia, and I was fascinated by all the patterns that I saw in a lot of Baroque painting buildings, and on the tile floors, and also jewelry, blankets, and so I will drew all this stuff in school. What everybody was doing drawings of Superman and stuff. I was fascinated by all these patterns, and then my love for nature was always present. So when I was in the graduate school at the University of Washington, a lot of the students were trying to find inspiration by going to the library to look at ideas to do their work. And I found a magazine that had an artist looking at a church wall that had all these patterns. And then all of a sudden that light up a light bulb in my brain and said, I always wanted to do patterns and nature, and I combined the two of them. And so my paintings of the jungles also, because I visit them and I used to play every Saturday and around the wilderness of my hometown. That's how I start doing my thesis, and I have applied that same style in all my paintings, whether it's portraits or landscapes, and my love for animals and the patterns always create a mystery that is not really obvious as you see the painting, but a lot of people go back to see the paintings over and over again because they're always discovering new things.
Mhm. Yes, it's very colorful, and yes, you're right. You can always find new things every time you go back and look at it. Who are your biggest influences, or who have been your biggest influencers?
When I was a young kid, I didn't very much go to museums, but there was a neighbor next to my house. It was this man that was doing these incredible portraits of historical figures, and I was fascinated by it. And then when I went to the School of Fine Arts, I was only a kid. I was so, for the first time, I discovered how peaceful and wonderful environment it was, because I could access places like where they were reading poetry and sculpture and dance and everything else. So that was my heaven. And all this stuff has been stored in my subconscious. And so is when I'm painting, I'm sort of an inspiration takes hold of me, and I'm sort of like meditating, and all this stuff pours out. I look at the murals of Diego Rivera and all the great Mexican muralists, but they were kind of scary to me, and I wanted to represent something that allows you to see the magic of nature, and how if we lose it, we're gonna live in a concrete block with our computers, because this beauty is disappearing so fast. And that's my inspiration more than following artists. You know, I go to a lot of expositions, but I wasn't, you know, when I went to the university, I was criticized for doing figurative art, and they were throwing paint on canvases and stuff like that. But I didn't feel that I could share my feelings and my emotions and with that kind of style. So when I was showing at the Smithsonian, the curator said, Alfredo, you don't belong to any particular movement. You are just a very original painter. And so a lot of people call me the first pattern painter, and now magical realist. And but I don't pay that much attention to all that categories as much as I don't pay that much attention about who I'm really a Chicano, a Latino, a Hispanic, or things. There's just categories of how to put you in certain places. And unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't allow to enter into a lot of museums because they judge you by the style of painting that people, native people from other places are bringing. And of course, it's not as appealing as things of nature that happen around you.
Thank you. Before I ask my next question, I did want to make a comment that Maestro Arreguin has painted 2 Washington State Chief Justices of the, or I should say, Supreme Court Justices, Chief Justice Steve Gonzalez and Justice Mary Yu, I think. I might be mispronouncing her name. Or
That's
those,
correct.
what was that? Go ahead.
That's correct. And also a third, or the first one he painted was a former Justice Charles E. Smith, the first person of color on the Supreme Court. So he's painted 3 of our portraits.
Wow. So that's amazing. What did that mean to you to be asked to paint our 3 Supreme Court justices?
Well, I was when the Justice Steve Gonzalez asked me as a favor that I should paint Justice Gonzalez, and I was very apprehensive because my style of painting does not resemble very real images, which a lot of the Supreme Court justices portray with very stiff poses and black robes and things like that. So I told Steve, I said, maybe my paintings won't be like jazz. And he says, no, it'll be more like cumbia. So I was very happy with that comment. And as you can see behind Steve Gonzalez's portrait, is so much fun for me to blend the judges in the background and to have some symbolic things. In some cases, people like things that were important in their lives, and I could use them as pattern on the painting. And I started doing that with famous friends, Carver, I put a lot of his poetry behind it and things, how he mentioned us in some of the poetry and stuff. So it was a challenge, but Steve asked me to meet him, and he was a wonderful man, and I felt really good about doing this portrait, very honored about it. And the wonderful reward is that he really loved work, and I was very pleased with that. So he even made copies for his family and things like that. So I like to have a lot of challenges because I learn a lot of new things all the time, and my patterns are always changing. I close my eyes in the sunshine, and I find all these little demons dancing and all kinds of things. In the dark, I find a lot of angels and things like that. So I close my eyes and all these things happen. But when I'm painting, I'm sort of in a meditative state into which all that stuff pours out, things that happened to me as a child, impressions that I got being in Korea, impressions that I had been in Japan, like I love Japanese art, and I use some of their hokusai big waves in some of my Northwest paintings of salmon. So it's very rewarding to have some history in the Palace of Justice that includes people of color. We are contributing a lot of wonderful things to this country, and it makes me feel really good to do these things for in our future, that children will understand that their people are included in them. So that's what I really enjoy that.
Thank you. That leads into the next question perfectly. How does your work comment on past or current social or political issues? I know you've painted Zapata and also like Cesar Chavez and Huerta.
Mm-hmm. It was because I started doing a portrait of Tess Gallagher, my friend for years, a poet that was married to Ray Carver. And I did a portrait of her, and she loved that. Again, she's in the middle of the forest, and so they say that all art is political, and but the way that I used to do sketches of the jungle burning, and the disasters that are happening, and all the stuff that gives a lot of concern. And so I decided that instead of showing the consequence of the environment and things like that, that I will try to give you a feeling of how important it is for a child to open his eyes and to look at things for the first time, like nature. Like when I was a kid, I'd never seen the sea, and when I saw the sea, I was totally, it was a miracle for me. And so all these little impressions happen, and there are people like Zapata that care very much for tierra y libertad, land and liberty, because they were appropriating all these fertile lands, and they're excluding the people that work on them from them. And of course, I included Cesar Chavez because and Huerta, because they initiated a movement into which they were asking for justice, and they were working the land, and they were being sort of exploited, and consequently, that inspires me with the idea of representing them, so history won't forget about them. And but that's about it.
Thank you. And the last question or comment is, anyone that knows your art knows that you paint Frida Kahlo a lot, and just thought I would ask you what is it about Frida Kahlo that you enjoy, or why you choose to paint her so much, or so many times in different ways?
Well, my mother was responsible for teaching me and encouraged me to do art, but she always complained that there was no way that she could ever be noticed because women weren't important enough as artists, and when I saw the images of Frida Kahlo and her suffering and representing all these wonderful feelings about her love for justice, and she loved to have a lot of animals around her, and the paintings of some of them. And right away I thought of my mother. And so I started painting female figures in my jungles, because in Mexico, in Latin America, the jungle is feminine. And I think of all the women that always work in the fields, and women that discover medicines and from time immemorial. And so to me, she became the symbol of women, the power of women to protect the environment and to help us understand how important it is to grow things, and the magic of the results of being able to share their hard work with their labor. And so that became the symbol of womanhood in my work, and to which I always support all the women causes, because they have been left so far behind in everything, in the arts and sciences, you name it. And I could see that they are now being more educated than men, and hope that there is more women that take the reins in businesses and whatever field you want to name, sports and creativity and engineering and everything else, because we need them. And that's why I continue to paint her as that symbol. It's not that I am obsessed with her in particular, but she is just a symbol of womanhood for me, how she suffered and how she became much more important in the arts in Mexico than Diego Rivera. So she got to be known in Spain. And so when I had my shows in Spain, I had a lot of crowds of people that recognized her and her importance. And so I was very happy about that.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's amazing. At this time, if anyone has questions or comments, you can unmute yourself, or you can put it in the chat for Maestro Arreguin.
Hey, Arreguin, I would like to go. What a pleasure to have you here with us today, and to have you in this world. I've been privileged enough to be at your house, meet you in person. You probably don't remember me, but I know your persona. I sense your vibes and your energy, and you're just a wonderful person. I'm from Zamora, Michoacan, which is near Morelia. Also an artist. I graduated from Heritage University down in the Yakima tribe. And you've been at Heritage, and we met and whatnot, and it's been awesome. And I think your work, it's fascinating. My question will be, it's your legacy, it's here now, and it will continue to be in for many years. But have you ever thought of partnering with other modern, let's say modern artists who do digital work? I think your work, and now that technology is so advanced, it might take the essence of what you do and why you do it. But at the same time, we're moving into an era where digital art is also becoming quite popular, and a form of art that it's very influential in any aspect of society. So I'm just thinking, like, your work and the pattern work that you do, and then if you work with young artists to follow the pattern, and transform that pattern from painting, from actual painting into digital. Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever, thought about it?
Well, way back then when they first started having computers, I was one of the first ones that got a computer, and people thought that I was crazy. What do you want to do with that? And it fascinates me because it takes me forever to do patterns. And then when I put a pattern on the screen, I can have thousands of them, But it has a lot of wonderful, I do a lot of photography when I walk, and I combine that photography with other photography and with my paintings, and I get incredible results. And when I post them on Facebook, people go, wow, how did you do that painting? And I'm going, well, it was done with Photoshop, combining my photography with my paintings and things like that. And I can see why young people are so fascinated with it. I can catch up with all the techniques that are going so fast, but when I met this poet from Fresno when I was very young, Juan Felipe Herrera, he got to be a national poet laureate of the United States. And he was the child of the farm workers, actually. He worked in the farm with the farm workers, a kid. And he's a wonderful, lovely person. And now they're naming a school in Fresno, elementary school, the Juan Felipe Herrera school. And he asked me if I was willing to use some of my painting designs to put in the school. And I said, sure, that will really energize the kids. And so they did these huge murals with computers that cover the walls of the school. And so I feel really good because we have to be conscious of the technology that continuously grows, and for bad and good causes. And of course, I take advantage of the good causes. In the old days, I had to prepare colors, lights, and things like that. And now it's so easy to send around the world my work, through the computer. And so it is like everything else. When they had the camera, people said, not painting is going to stop now that we have the cameras, and people get afraid of what's happening with technology. But I think some of it, if you're negative, you could say that a lot of it damages kids because they do not have the access to nature because they're so busy with the computers. But that's the nature of progress, I guess. And some of them will end up being successful in the arts in so many ways.
Maestro, we have a question in the chat from Mercedes, and she's asking if you have a favorite. Is there a particular piece that's your favorite and why?
Well, it sounds corny, but it's just like, which one is your favorite child, every painting has its own personality, and some of them you get much more fond of it for many different reasons that a simple answer. And so I have a lot of paintings in different countries and collections, and that influenced me to say that was a real great painting, but the ones I have in the basement, they're not as good paintings. And that's not true, because when I show them at museums, you know, or galleries, people are interested and want to buy them. I'm so successful with the demand for my work now that I am 87 and I don't have that much energy. I had COVID, and the minute I sit on my chair to look at my paints, I fall asleep, you know. So what happens is that the triptychs, because it took me like 8 months to do or something like that, become favorites because of all the labor I put on them, and the results were really great for me, you know. So that's all I can tell you about that.
Yes. We have two people who have similar questions for you, and it's got to do with the youth. Alex says the art world is changing more drastically than ever. What would you tell the younger artists who are learning to navigate these changes? And Jocelyn says, it moved. What advice or wise words would you like to share with parents and families in our communities that find themselves in survival mode and subconsciously discouraging the arts as a career because it's often viewed and followed with y eso con qué se come, or how will you eat that? What advice would you share with the youth?
Well, one of the things that that I always think about, how disappointed I was about the slow pace of the recognition of my work. And so you have to have passion and also to keep on trying so many different styles and so many different things. At first, you know, education is good to give you a guidance into it, but eventually it all comes from you and your perseverance. And I persevere terrible times when I used to send those Xeroxes black and white, and they were terrible, but I kept on sending them to museums and everywhere. And when I graduated, a lot of the people asked me that I was going to get a lot of opportunities because they were hiring Hispanic people in all these universities. And I sent 300 applications a year for 3 years, and I only got an offer in El Paso, Texas. And so I keep on persevering. And, you know, finally, now the Seattle Art Museum just bought one of my paintings for their collection. And I said, I'm so glad I quit drinking because I was going nowhere. You know, it's just like what Raymond Carver was saying. And since then, I had all this energy for doing work. I quit doing smoking and drinking, and all that energy went into painting. But it's not easy. It's hard to be recognized. But if you believe that what you're doing is making you happy, pretty soon you're going to do excellent work, and eventually you'll be noticed. You know, that's the most important part, is the authenticity of your work and how you represent how you feel about it. So I keep on thinking that the only advice I can give you is go to exhibitions, go to galleries and see art. See what you have in your mind that you want to learn a new language, a new visual language into which you can experiment and have the freedom to do whatever you feel, and then eventually you start channeling your energy into something that works, and then from there on it will grow, and then eventually you will become noticed by the art world. Perseverance furthers. That's one of the things that I got from this thing called the I Ching, where you throw these sticks and you have a little pamphlet that tells you what does that mean. And I always drew that perseverance furthers. It allows you to climb the mountain. And so with that kind of quote, I kept on trying and trying. What gave me the energy to paint, to be so prolific, is that I quit drinking that used to take all my time and used to get in fights and all those things. And now I am at peace and I'm doing real good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your honesty and for sharing personal issues that you've dealt with. I just want to say thank you from LLN and the state of Washington and everyone that attended today. This was a wonderful conversation and I've learned so much, and I wish you can see the chat. It is just amazing. Everyone has such wonderful comments, and I'm going to see if we can save that and send it to you so you can read them on your own time.
Thank you. I really appreciate all that. And I have this exhibition right now at the Museum of Northwest Art in La Conner. And the few weeks that started, they had 9,000 people going over to see it. I'm going to be there on Sunday for a Latino party and to celebrate Hispanic month. And I welcome all of you to be there. And if you have any more questions, I'll be over there to answer and sign the wonderful catalog they did on my show. So thank you again, and it's a pleasure talking with you. And I'm so happy to see Steve Gonzalez, that there he was, my friend that I love so much, in front of my painting of dancers from...
Yes, I think he had to leave, but he did.
No, estoy aquí todavía.
Oh, I was looking for your name on the participant list. Thank you for staying on and joining us. For those of you that couldn't attend our kickoff, Chief Justice Steve Gonzalez was our keynote speaker. And I think TWTV has recorded the keynotes, the speech. But thank you to both of you. And thank you, Maestro Alfredo Arreguin, and we will try to get you some of these positive or the chat information here so you can read it.
I appreciate it very much. It wasn't so bad. Zoom scares me.
I know, it scares a lot of people. It scares us too. If the rest, or if everyone can hold on for a few more minutes, we're gonna share our contact information for the Latino Leadership Network, and I think Monica is gonna do that.
Sí se pudo, sí se puede.
Sí se puede, arriba, y arriba, arriba iré. Nos vemos, hasta luego.
Hasta luego, gracias.
Gracias.
Hasta luego.
Monica, do you want to talk about LLN here? Oh, did we leave? You're muted. There. Oh, did we lose Monica?
No, I'm here. I just lost my mute button.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes, unfortunately, I too have a fear of Zoom occasionally. So thank you for everyone's patience. Again, here's our QR code for easy registration. I put the link in the chat multiple times, so please make sure you register your attendance. And let's say one more big thank you to Maestro Arreguin. Thank you so much for sharing your gift, your love for the arts, and the empowering of your people. It is very great to have you, and we are so appreciative of your time. And to our LLN members, thank you so much for coming and supporting our virtual Hispanic Heritage Month events. Links to the background were provided in the chat. If you still haven't received it, please feel free to email us at the email address on the screen. And thank you so much for attending our event. We look forward to our next one. Have a wonderful day and a great weekend.
Oops. Some of you are asking about his show and such. I think you can go to his website and find more information. Per state law and OFM, we can't share or promote the art shows that he has, but I think if you just go to his website, you'll find more information there.
Okay, and with that, we can consider this event adjourned. Thank you everyone for your attendance. Have a wonderful day.